Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Spectral MD Holdings Results Investor Presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just please simply type in your questions at any time and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during today's meeting. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll, and if you give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company would be most grateful. And I'd now like to hand over to Niels Windler, CFO, and Wenxin Fang, CEO. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for everybody to join us for this afternoon. We're here to announce the final results for this investor briefing for the year of 2021. Hopefully everybody can see the slides well, and we'll go from here. Of course, we need to go through all the required disclaimers, and I'll click next, and we're done with the disclaimers. So, for the presenters, my name is Wenxin Fang, the CEO and co-founder of Spectral MD, and here with me is Mr. Niels Windler, and our Chief Financial Officer. I'll ask Niels to give a brief introduction. Please, Niels.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this call. My name is Niels Windler. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Spectral MD. I come with 20 years of experience in finance and operations across different healthcare companies. I joined Spectral MD end of November last year, and I'm very, very excited to be a member of this tremendous team.
Great, thank you, Niels. And let's get to it. And here, for those folks who has not known Spectral MD, who are we? We are a Dallas, Texas-based healthcare tech company. We're in the data-driven healthcare tech, and we specialize in predictive analytics. And we are using artificial intelligence, AI, to predict how a wound will heal. And we have been around since 2010, and we went on a market last year in June of 2021. So for Deep View, that's the name of our product, that's the name of our technology. We are a medical imaging plus AI predictive analytics company. What you see on the bottom left there, that is our current imaging kit, like folks here in UK fondly call it an imaging kit. It's a patented proprietary multispectral imaging modality. It takes pictures from near UV lights through the visible lights all the way to the near IR lights. And it captures this high resolution tissue spectral signature within milliseconds. And with this technology, it enables us to capture that very unique tissue spectral signature for damaged tissue, less damaged tissue, and healthy tissue. But that's not all we do. We actually extract from this raw imaging data to form the AI model features. They're in the thousands to form those features for our AI modeling, combined with the patient's healthcare matrix data. And that all pre-processed for our AI model. Our AI model is built on top of 174 billion clinically validated data points. And that's the unique part of how our AI model is trained. And we move this into an AI model that can provide a day one objective, accurate, and binary prediction of the wound healing assessment. So on the bottom right, what you see there is our Deep View output. On the left, we always show the raw image of the wound, like just this heterogeneous burn on this 3-year-old boy's chest. On the right is the output from our Deep View AI technologies. It highlights the areas that will not heal. And for burn, if it's non-healing means surgery, healing means standard wound care. For the diabetic foot ulcer, we will highlight the diabetic foot ulcer that will not heal or close within 30 days. So that is what we do right now, the two clinical indications we're working on. The first one being the burn indication. The burn wound market right now in America, we have just shy of 500,000 patients visiting the US ERs, EDs, or here in UK, people call it A&E with a burn injury, out of which about 53,000 will require in-hospital stays. On average, 8.1 days in hospital stay, average cost $24,000 per patient per stay. The current problem is a low accuracy from the practitioners. 50 to 70% is the accuracy from the 70% is burn specialists, 50% is other doctors. That's how they have the accuracy to assess whether a burn will heal or not early on. So they have a current standard of care as wait up to 21 days to determine whether a burn wound will heal or not. Naturally, this causes a high cost for the in-hospital stays, higher possibility for infections and other complications. With DeepView, that's the name of our technology and our product, and after many rounds of structured clinical studies, we have reached a 92% accuracy for adults and 88% accuracy for pediatrics on day one to assess a burn wound will heal or not. And a retrospective clinical study performed by LSU, they found that using DeepView could decrease the length of stay by more than 50%, could provide a cost saving of $14,500 per patient and save their burn center just shy of $2 million per year. This is a very vicious problem, the burn problem, and it has a 3.7 billion total addressable market with a CAGR rate of 6.9%. One thing I want to make our folks to be clear about is this is fully supported by a U.S. government, federal government funding. We have been blessed to have this funding in the past 8 years. It support our development of this technology. So what do you see in front of you? These are fully supported by the U.S. federal government contract Spectral MD has been utilizing to get to this point. So why are we doing the other indication of diabetic foot ulcers? Well, because it's very, very similar problems with much bigger market. Instead of just 500,000 annually for burn, what we have is 10 times of that, 5.2 million DFU patients per year. And this is only in the US, UK, and EU4. And 15.5 average length of visits per year by DFU patients cost up to $63,000 per patient per year. And the problem here is worse. There is no diagnosis available to determine whether a DFU will heal or not in 30 days, will close or not in 30 days to a certain degree. And the problem here is they utilize this 30 to 45 days, sometimes 30 days minimum, to basically wait and see whether a DFU will heal or not before they can decide to apply advanced wound care product or other treatment methodologies. So the sad fact here is a 40% of that 5.2 million of DFU patients, they do not respond to this wait and see kind of a method. DeepView, after rounds of structured clinical studies, and with a data we collected last year in United States of America, 150 DFU subjects at multiple clinical sites across America. Now we're at 81% accuracy on day one to predict whether a DFU will heal or not, will close or not in 30 days and beyond. And that's what we're doing with the DFU. Of course, for chronic wounds, there's no true day one. So the first encounter of the patient to meet with the clinicians. And this provide a quicker time to apply advanced wound care products and treatment methods to the patients, reduce the possibility of infections and complications in this $11 billion CAGR rate 6.8% market we're dealing with. And with that, I would like to summarize what DeepView does is we have this substantial high growth wound healing assessment market opportunities. We have the FDA breakthrough designation on our burn indication since 2018. And we have a robust ready to execute commercialization strategy. And that's where we're at. That's what Spectral MD is. And I would love to turn the floor now to Mr. Niels Windler, our CFO, to present you the 2021 final results. Niels, please.
Thank you, Wencheng. I would like to start off the 2021 operational highlights review with our burn indication. We completed successfully our expanded proof of concept clinical study for our DeepView burn application. Presented those results at the Southern Region Burn Conference and presented the 92% accuracy for adults and 88% for children. So a great achievement for the team that I would like congratulate the team on. From a funding perspective, we got 2 new government contracts awarded, valued a little bit over $40 million. 2 options from BARDA, option 1A and option 1B, to continue funding our training study in the United States. Including those 2 contracts, the contracts that were awarded to Spectral MD from BARDA are now over $100 million. Furthermore, our AI burn algorithm training study is on track. We will enroll 250 subjects in over 10 clinical sites within leading hospitals across the whole United States. One piece of very good news reached us, an updated guidance from the US government broad agency announcement, which excluded potential competitors for the burn application in the diagnosis field. What that basically means that BARDA no longer seeks other companies to specifically do research and development in that particular space where we are, burns. So that is fantastic news and gives us as a company a lot of confidence for the contracts to follow with the US government going forward. Switching over to our DFU, diabetic foot ulcer indication. Last year, we successfully went public on the AIM market of the London Stock Exchange and raised roughly $60 million. We completed by the end of 2021 our DFU training study, which with 150 subjects. And I want to point out one important thing here, great achievement by the company given the COVID-19 surge with the Omicron variant. We've been able to complete our training study as planned, despite that highly disruptive environment. Furthermore, we've been able to develop additional key features for our application, which will help us to ensure clinical adoption of our indication going forward. Another source of funding for Spectral MD in 2021 came from the Department of Defense, which awarded us $1.1 million to research and develop a miniaturized version of our current device. Currently, we have a card-based device. We're taking this forward, miniaturize it with a goal to have a fully handheld version of our device going forward. Obviously, from a Department of Defense perspective, it's of great use for military and for field use. This also aligns perfectly with our strategy in respect to being able to deploy our product going forward in the home space. So we'll basically have no longer a device that you have to roll through the floors of a hospital. It will be a device eventually that you can carry in your hand easily. Financial highlights 2021. We ended 2021 with a very comfortable cash position of $16.1 million. Revenues in 2021 of $15.2 million came mostly from BARDA through our grant revenue and a little bit from the Department of Defense contract. Expenses of $19.2 million were driven by DFU development expenses, we incurred expenses for going public and are now incurring expenses of a public company. Furthermore, the company, we spent a lot of investments in strengthening the organizational infrastructure of Spectral MD in order to start getting us ready to be an organization that commercially sells its products. Our adjusted Ebitda came in at -3 million, which is normal in a stage where our company is in. Important to note, this is materially lower. The negative Ebitda is materially lower than we initially expected. That is driven by the fact we were able to run our training studies way more effectively than we were thinking. We were forced to do so by the Omicron variant. So that just shows you basically the company achieved its milestones while spending less, which is a fantastic result for 2021. Post-period highlights for 2021. We talked about our clinical training study for the burn application. We already enrolled over 80 subjects, actually 86 to be precise, and the company is on track to meet the 250 subject enrollment target across 10 to 12 sites by the end of 2022. Wensheng already mentioned our DFU artificial model was created with an accuracy of over 80% for broad coverage. We will launch our DFU clinical study for the EU, where we will be working together with the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. The clinical agreements that are necessary are currently in progress and being worked on, but we're really close. And then last but not least, our fully handheld device that I was mentioning earlier. The prototype has been developed, and also this project is well underway. I think that brings this to the end of my section. I want to pass the ball back to Wensheng.
Thank you, Niels. So here I will give a talk on the summary and outlook. And this is a new way, actually, based upon the investors' feedback. We have updated our milestone charts in this way. I'll park on this page a little bit so that you folks can take a quick look. So instead of we just outline what tasks to do at what year, we also outline to the bottom which phase those tasks belong to, from the training study, validation study, to the clearance and to the commercialization kind of phase. This is a slide for the burn indication. And I'll click to the next, which is for the DFU indication. I'll park on this for a quick moment for you folks to have a read. In the next slides, actually, we'll have a good summary of where we are and what we're going to do, just for the folks to look at. There you go. So for the burn indication, the current BARDA contract is fully on track, and we're supposed to utilize our current federal funding of, they call it option 1A, 1B, but it's a combined $40 million federal contract we're utilizing right now to conduct a formal AI training study. That is to collect 250 subjects of burn patients' data across 10 plus sites in America to train our AI model in a very formal way. And at the end of this study, we will be able to have a AI burn algorithm that's going to be validated in the next phase. In the next phase, in our existing contract, in our current contract, we call it option 2. That doesn't really matter. That's another $23 million that will be awarded to us in the current contract to support the validation study and submission to FDA. And what we want to talk about here, I want to bring some highlights and also answer in the kind of answer to one of the questions just submitted online about the next and future federal grant opportunities. So we actually have been talking to the emergency department, emergency rooms in America to understand the utilization of deep view in the ERs and EDs, particularly in the mass casualty situation, that is to support BARDA's mission, which is preparation and readiness for America, but also for the day-to-day use in the ED/ER, where the burn patients can get correct referrals to the burn centers or refer to other place for routine care center care. So that is some focused area we have been working on in the past few months. And I'm happy to report after a very good meeting with FDA, and we heard the FDA say that they really think deep view has a critical and clear utility in the ED/ERs, and they like our development plan, data development plan, and they look forward to seeing more data from SPECTRAL MD. So for the future contracts beyond this, what we are in is called advanced research and development projects. That's what we have been in with BARDA for this past 8 years so far. And we have been utilizing this total contract value of $117 million contracts to develop the deep view in the burn indication. And there are naturally, down the road, we nicknamed it the next BARDA contract. I want to make it crystal clear. This is a potential opportunity. We do not have this contract yet. This is something we will work hard on. And this is basically the late stage clinical studies, for example, like the outcome study, cost benefit study, those kind of studies. And they also support federal procurement and deployment. We ballpark estimated at about $400 million US for the scale of that contract. And that is something we will focus to work on, to fight for, and eventually we hope to deliver to our investors. And that will take the burn indication into a commercialization stage by itself. And for diabetic foot ulcer, the DFU validation study to start very soon. That's what we're focusing on right now. And the clinical study in the EU and UK, where materially, what the lawyer told me, they said we're materially aligned on the contract terms with RCSI, Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland. And we hope to start that contract very soon, and so that we can start our first DFU clinical trials in Ireland for the EU market. I was actually at Prestige UK hospitals visiting their DFU centers right here in London area last week. And, this is a very much needed tool for this market as well. I was at the DFU center that they see 50 DFU patients every single day. So it's a real problem here. So that's what we're going to do, both with RCSI for EU market and also collecting data in UK market as well. And we will be moving that forward with the DFU indications. There was a question to ask about the development cost for the miniaturization or the fully handheld technology of the deep view, that part. The cost of that, thank God, we have been blessed by another non-dilutive federal government grant. This time is from DOD. DHA is a Defense Health Agency, and they provide us with that government grant to support the development of this miniaturization efforts. And that is to support the future military far-field use, of course. I support this initiative because it is perfectly aligned with our hope to make our system from the current card size into fully handheld, therefore to enable it for better usage in both the wound care clinics and enable the eventual at-home use for the easy access by the chronic wound patients, for them to not just deal with a problem when it happens, but get into the prevention, the early screening, and also the post-recovery monitoring type of market that we're going to do. And I'm confident that this fully handheld model will be developed, because I have already seen the data that shows a scientific equivalency between the core technology in the fully handheld compared to our current model. So for that, I think if there's a risk, it's just in the execution, the packaging, and things in that nature. But the core imaging pathway development, I think, is successfully accomplished. So that is a outlook for burn, DFU, and DHA for what we're doing right now and in the near future. This is a what's next kind of a slide, and I appreciate Niels and team to actually put these slides together. I would like to have our view to be more nimble to use, easy to use, and better network connectivity, better user interface, better user experience for sure. And this will help us to push it out of the OR, out of the operating room, that is, out of just high-end hospitals, and to the ER, EDs, to the wound care clinics, to eventually at-home use. Right now, we're doing DFU, we're doing burn indications. We're also in the early stage on venous leg ulcer and the critical limb ischemia and other clinical indications for sure. And we believe with all this problem caused around the peripheral artery disease, this is a coherent direction for us to move forward. And beyond that, to be honest, I think the Spectral MD, the whole value right now, we are in the wound care space. But we actually, with the federal funding support, we actually built a beautiful data pipeline. That is, we have a state-of-the-art, fully patented multispectral imaging front end. And we have this pathway. We know how to get the data to ground truth labeling all this database. And we also have a strong data science team to train the AI models. So to our team, we're beyond just wound care. We're truly in the health, digital health, and data-driven healthcare tech space. That's where we hope to move this to a broader access by the patients and by other users, but also to the ease of use, smaller footprint of the system as well. So those are the direction we're pushing for. We're very well on track with all those directions, and I would love to report the progress done in the future opportunities. To summarize, with today's focus of the company, we're still a small company, we're a young company, and we need to stay focused, get things delivered, get things onto the market. That is our forever attention right now. We have two very, very good, substantial, high-growth wound healing diagnostic market opportunities, both in burn, which is fully supported by federal funding, and in DFU, which is a real growing problems to solve. And we have an FDA breakthrough designation for our AI technologies for burn indications that is since 2018. And we have a robust, ready to execute commercialization strategy to move things forward. One of the questions asked was, what's a near-term initiative to move the commercialization efforts? I think Niels just covered one of them in his speech. That is to build the right teams. We need to build the right teams for the commercialization efforts. Commercialization in this phase, to have a product that's down the road you're going to roll out to the market, you need to understand what's a reimbursement model, what's a business model, what's a rollout model, and with all this marketing efforts we need to build up. And so we have added a great finance team led by Niels, and we have added a great regulatory team led by our newly hired head of regulatory affairs. And our VP of marketing will start in 2 weeks. And we're really building the team to meet the requirements of this efforts. And we are in 2 weeks at American Burn Association annual meeting, we'll have 3 podium presentations about our technology on the performance as well as on the fundamental scientific initiatives. So all these efforts we're building to answer the value added criterion table that healthcare facilities will require for us to fill out in order to get above a certain threshold for our technology to be adopted. In other words, data-driven sales will be organized, orchestrated by our team in the near future to start this commercialization strategy. And the question comes in says, have we submitted to FDA for DFU approval? If not, when do we expect to submit to FDA? We're right now going to start the validation study for the DFU application. We hope that we can finish that application by the end of 2022, and we'll prepare and submit the FDA packet accordingly. With that, I think that is the end of the presentation, and would love to answer more questions if you folks have it.
That's great. Wensheng, Niels, thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon and for updating investors. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions, as Wensheng's just asked, using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But as while the company take a few moments to review those questions submitted already, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your Investor Meet Company dashboard, and you'll receive an email notifying you when that's ready for your review. Wensheng, Niels, I think you've been multitasking through today's presentation as you've been answering the questions as you've gone along. So thank you to all of those investors that have submitted questions today. And perhaps if I could just ask if there's any others there that you need to address. If not, what I might do, Wensheng, is just ask you for a few closing comments, just really to wrap up with.
I think we have got most of the question covered already submitted from the audience. And I really appreciate the time from all the audience participating today. And I hope down the road we can provide more updates. And it's a great year of 2021. Niels and I will keep the market updated, and we look forward to your continuous support. Thank you guys very much.
Wensheng, Niels, thank you very much for your time and updating investors this afternoon. Can I please ask investors not to close this session, as we will now automatically redirect you for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can really better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Spectral MD Holdings, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, so good afternoon to you all.